Hi there, and welcome to Mom Coach Wife. My name is Alina Michelle, and today is Mompreneur Monday, which is the day of the week where I bring you guys a brand new mompreneur and tell you her story about how she started her business and how she's balancing motherhood, entrepreneurship, and taking care of herself as well. This week, we are talking to Cathy Richards, who is a licensed dietitian. Cathy has dedicated her work to helping busy mompreneurs to kick emotional eating. So let's dive in and learn more about Cathy. Before we dive in though, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the bell for notifications, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you in, well, kind of in person. Zoom,
Yeah.
but as close to as in person as we can get for the moment. So Cathy, I want you to just take a moment to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what it is that makes you more than just a mom.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Cathy Richards. I've been a registered dietitian for the last 20 years. So before I had kids, I focused on like government contracts and did lots of different things. I had my own private practice. Then I came into being a mom and having kids and needed more life balance. So I adjusted things a bit and really changed what I focus on in my business at that point. But yeah, I came from a big family. I came from a farming community, so food's always kind of been an important part of my life growing up. So I think it was just kind of a natural transition to work in the area of food.
Yeah, nice. So food has been a staple literally in your life from the very beginning. You said you come from a big family. How big is your family?
So I had there was 5 kids in my family. So I have a twin sister and then 3 older brothers. And one of them still farms, and then the other 2 are in outdoor education. Like they run summer camps when we're not in a pandemic. So
So as far as farming, I know very little bit about farming as myself, but I do understand that most farms like have like a specialty or like something that they really focus on. Like my husband and I have watched a few videos about like sugarcane farms, and they usually like grow nothing but sugarcane. So did you guys have like specific things that were your crops or?
yeah, definitely. So cash crops. When I was young, we had like cattle and pigs. I can remember like going in the middle of the night to see the pigs being born. But then, yeah, there wasn't a lot of money in that. So cash crops is where the focus is, and tomatoes in the area where I grew up, it's a big tomato farming community. So there's a processing plant in the town. So that's still kind of the main bulk of the cash crop. And then, yeah, we grow sugar beets, wheat, bean, corn. I think they did cucumbers for a few years, but tomatoes kind of like the biggest crop that they have. Yeah.
Awesome. Good to know. So you have been around vegetables primarily, it sounds like, in on your farm after you guys had cattle and pigs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now that you are an adult and a dietitian instead of a farmer, how have you like kind of adapted from farm life to being a dietitian?
Well, I still like, even as, because now I live in a city, so it's quite different from growing up in a small town in the country. Um, but yeah, I'm still focusing on kind of getting back to the basics with my clients and with the way that I'm eating as well. Recent health concerns in my family have taken me even like further back to like eating no meat and kind of being really plant-based to improve my risk of disease as well. So I feel like you can kind of take the girl out of the farm, but those principles are still going to be day to day, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything that ends up being very close to someone, it's still going to be a part of them, even when they're kind of stepped away from it a bit. So I imagine the farm is going to be the same way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So as a mom, you mentioned that you are a mom. How many kids do you have? And what is your current family structure like today?
Okay, so I have 3 kids, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and one that will be 9 very soon. And currently, I'm a single mom. I got divorced about a year ago. So we're in our own little family unit. The kids are with me half the time and with their dad half the time. So it gets a bit interesting. Food wise, their dad actually requested to have like the menus in a shared Google Calendar. So we're not trying to offer them the same things all the time. And it makes some of that division of responsibility for the kids to eat their meal a bit easier. So yeah, I find that's a bit unique. I haven't found many of my clients that plan their menus together. We kind of don't plan together. I try to hop in and pick all my favorite things first so I can get the easy meals. And then yeah, fills in from there. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got 3 kids, all sound like school age, except one, did you say was 3?
5. So
5.
he's,
I
yeah,
don't know why 3 was in my head, probably because I just recently had a 3-year-old. But so 5, 7, and 9, right? Okay,
yeah.
so all 2 years apart. And now you guys are co-parenting and deciding what meals are through Google Calendar.
Yep.
Interesting. So how do you put it in a calendar to this? Is it like mom's week, this is your meal kind of thing? How does that work?
Well, so as the parent, we just go in, like if it's a birthday or whatever. For Mother's Day, I went to the kids and I said, like, because they would come to visit me for Mother's Day for a couple of hours. It wasn't my weekend. So I let them actually pick the meal for lunch because I didn't want to have like anyone complaining before they sat down, like, I don't want to eat this. I was like, I just want it to be easy. So I made 2 different things that the kids requested, not that I even wanted it, but I just wanted it to be an easy meal. So with Google Calendar, with my the kids' dad, we just go in and it's just supper that we're putting in. It happened, I think, like within 2 weeks of me moving house, I had sent my daughters to school with the, I don't know, like pasta and soup or something. And then he tried to give them the same meal for supper. So he got like quite a uprising from the kids. So he was like, yeah, I think it would make it easier. And he has a lot of anxiety. So just to have it planned out makes it a bit easier in advance. So it's mainly the protein that we're picking for supper. And it's just to kind of help get some variety for the kids too.
Gotcha. Basically, so that you guys aren't repeating meals, and that's why it makes sense in a calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So what was it like transitioning? Because I know a lot of moms have different lifestyles, and that's part of why I ask about family structure. What was it like transitioning from being a mom with the husband at home to being a co-parenting parent and an entrepreneur with all these different things? What was that transition like for you?
So the transition was challenging because when your kids are young, so my youngest was, so he was technically 3, yeah, at the time that I moved. The recommendation is not to tell the kids really far in advance. So we told them on a Monday and I was moving on the Saturday. So it was a lot of like getting furniture and packing it in different garages, like on the street that I lived in. So it was kind of like trying to hide new furniture, but my daughter would notice like, why do you have extra chairs and things? So I was like, oh, I'm just holding them for someone. So and then shortly after the transition happened, we entered the pandemic. So I think it was good because we were in lockdown. We're back in lockdown where I live now. Schools are closed, but it was good to have like that at home time with the kids. And I wasn't really actively, I was still working in my business a bit, but I was off with a concussion for a few years. So I had that time at home to really focus on being with the kids and being present and help them get used to the new environment. So I kind of, in a weird way, found the pandemic more as a blessing to help with that transition. Um, the difference in like day-to-day stuff, it wasn't that different. My the kid's dad has anxiety, so he really wasn't able to do much of the care for the last few years. So it wasn't that big of a change for me to have three kids on my own. I always felt like I was kind of having them on my own anyways. So but yeah, that transition with the pandemic and everything being locked down, it was kind of, yeah, a blessing in disguise for us to have that extra time to really kind of bond in a new space. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing more and more of how the pandemic has been a blessing for many people, and not only the sides that we all know about of the hardships that came along with it, but a lot of the blessings that come along too. Now, you mentioned that with your business, you had taken a couple years off due to concussion. So how long had you been in business? I know you kind of hinted at it a little bit when you were talking about transitioning from farm life to dietitian. Were you an entrepreneur and doing this business prior to becoming a mom, or was it kind of like all happened around the same time?
No, I was an entrepreneur. So after I finished my training, so to be a registered dietitian in Canada, we have to do like a 4-year Bachelor of Science and then another year of basically free training, like how doctors do their residencies. So we do an internship. And then after that, I think I worked one job in a hospital, like covering a mat leave. It was like, yeah, not really my thing to work like with really sick people. It's a role, but you're not really changing their life as much, right? You're just trying to like maintain them while they're sick.
Right.
So then after that, a colleague that I'd actually interned with approached me to help her with her private practice. So that's how I went into private practice, was working in the prisons in the province where I live, working in all the federal prisons. And then she wanted to move on. So I actually ended up buying her business out from her back in, I don't know, 2002, I think. So I had the business and had all these contracts. So I had subcontractors and kept that going. Um, and then I got to a point where it was just like I was working 7 days a week, which I didn't mind. Like I was having fun and I had lots of variety. I would go to a different place every day. Then I met my children's father and I actually moved to a different town or a different city to spend time with him. And I took a job at that point at a university. So it was kind of like my first like 9 to 5, not working for myself. I still did contracting on the side. Um, and then when I had kids, I stopped, yeah, doing the extra contracting and just worked 4 days a week at a full-time salary in the 9 to 5. Yeah. So I left the entrepreneur space until my third was born, and then I kind of like started to dip my toes back in and focus on helping people online more.
So you
Yeah.
kind of had a couple of transitions in there from entrepreneurship to working still within the same field, but working like 9 to 5, and then now we're back into entrepreneurship. What do you feel like was the thing once you had your third child that really pushed you to say that you were going to do your own practice again?
Um, Really, it's like the flexibility and the chance to control your lifestyle, right? So even now in the pandemic, so I had that time off, thankfully, because I was employed. I had coverage through long-term disability to be able to like have that space, and that allowed me to move houses and things. Um, so I was thankful for the 9 to 5. I'm still working with them a bit right now as I'm transitioning back because it was screen time that was limited. So I kind of needed a safe way to see if I could increase screen time without having like lots of symptoms. But it's that flexibility. Like my one daughter has long COVID symptoms from COVID infection in December. So yeah, I'm able to kind of sneak out during the workday when I'm at home, like just between clients, and get medical care and stuff that we need. So yeah, it's really the flexibility. I think I resisted for a while because I know I'm the type to go like all in. Now my concussion symptoms, they don't really let me go all like there's like a definite cutoff of my day with how I feel. So I think that's just the universe saying, remember, like you've got these boundaries, right? So yeah, so that in itself is a blessing too, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I mean, I always feel like certain things are just a way of putting up those boundaries when we don't do them ourselves. So
Mhm.
a really good way to look at that. Now that you are back into your private practice, do you have any specific types of clients that you serve? Or I know you're in Canada, so that may have a effect on who you serve, but who are the people that you particularly serve?
So in my private practice, I'm really focusing on the busy mompreneurs who are emotional eaters and they want to kind of like get control of that once and for all and feel like they are back in control of their life, not the food. And then that change in their relationship with food obviously reflects on how their kids are going to have a relationship with food, right? So yeah, so that's where I'm focused. I'm running group programs primarily right now around emotional eating. Um, and yeah, it's just a way for those busy mompreneurs to come together and they don't have to pack up the kids and go to an appointment, right? Like it's all online and it's just easy for them to access as well.
Awesome. So we're looking at the busiest of the busy people, mompreneurs, and taking care of that. So because you focus on moms specifically and how busy we can get when we're running a business, do you have like a specific mission or a goal that you want to achieve in helping people like myself with their diets and their health?
A specific goal other than, well, it's basically getting them the energy that they need to show up in their business as the best version of themselves. Because I think a lot of us know, like, as we get busier and busier, like, our health is kind of the first thing that we don't pay attention to. So, to make it easy for them to show up and be that most confident version of themselves. So, that's my tagline: healthy mompreneurs get wealthy, because I know that it's that healthiness that gets us to that wealthiness that we really want.
100% health is wealth. That
Mhm.
is so true. It's one of the first steps to it. So, is there anything that you want your three children to learn from you taking on this journey of entrepreneurship, or from you specifically being a dietitian?
Yeah, we talk a lot about how food is energy, no food is bad, but focusing on healthy bodies as well, which is, I think, important for kids to see. The research shows that children of moms who diet or they see their moms like doing restrictive eating behaviors, the daughters especially, by age 12 we see a lot more disordered eating in the daughters when they've had that influence with their mom. And I also want my kids to see, because the other half of their life is kind of an entitled and privileged life. So I want them to see like that I don't need someone else to do, like I can make my own future and I can help people in doing that. So it's kind of funny because my 5-year-old is stuck on that song Kings and Queens. I don't know, I can't remember who sings it, but it's like basically like if all the kings put their queens on the throne, it's like a women empowerment song, but he just likes the tune or whatever. So it's kind of funny that he walks around singing it. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what that is. So it's fun to have conversations. He's like, well, what does it mean? So yeah, it's fun. Mhm.
Awesome. Love that you guys are having the conversations, and especially like you said, with your 9-year-olds getting close to that age of where is your 9-year-old your daughter or?
Yeah, 9 and 7-year-old are our daughters.
And
Yeah.
then 5. Okay. I was making sure I had it right because it was like, I
Yeah.
remember those 2 girls, but I thought you just said the 5-year-old was the boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your 9-year-old's getting close to that age where like body image and things are going to start to become a factor. It's probably really terrifying, but
They already talk about it. Like it's crazy. Like already, like
at
it's hitting
9,
home.
they're already talking about it.
Yeah. Well, she's 8. Yeah, and she's already like the boys at school comment on the girls' bodies already. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
And it's kind of neat because in my 3 kids, the first one and the last one are definitely like the same like body structure. The one in the middle is like totally her own person and her own body. So it's a good way to talk about like her shape is very different. And it's neat to see and how they kind of navigate through that. But yeah, it starts like in grade 1, kids are talking about body size and body shape, and yeah, it's crazy.
I don't remember that like being a topic. Maybe, I mean, maybe it's just something that I didn't really think about, but I
Mhm.
don't remember that being a topic really until like middle school. I
Yeah.
remember being a thing by like middle school because that's usually when most kids are hitting puberty and like starting to pay attention to the changes of their bodies and stuff. But I don't remember being like 8 or 9 and ever, at least myself, thinking about anyone else's body.
Well, but puberty now, like if you look at when puberty starts, like by age 8, they consider like puberty starting now for girls. And yeah, so it's crazy. Like, and even around the age of 8, my daughter started to have like body changes that we checked to make sure everything was fine. Because I was like, I don't think that's normal. But with the way that kids are fed now, like we see changes in the body, and it's a little bit scary.
Wow. Yeah, because I don't remember anyone really having, I mean, there were those few that may have like blossomed a little earlier than the rest of us, but most kids were like by middle school was when we started to see, like maybe 6th grade or so, we started to
Yeah.
see changes. But that's interesting and good to know because mine's only 4.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought like in 4 years that her and her peers would potentially have changes like that. So
It starts. Yeah.
yeah. So off of the, the puberty thing for a minute, if someone came to you and had no idea what to do for diet, what's one piece of advice that you typically would give someone about their diet? Just maybe something that's more generalized. I know that it can get very specific depending on each individual, but something that maybe you share with almost everyone that you come into contact with.
Yeah. So I think like having the right balance of protein, fat, carbohydrates, an important component of meals and snacks. So when we're looking at energy, and that's what a lot of people come to me complaining that they don't have enough energy or it falls off by the end of the day, or that they're craving foods and overeating at night. When we look back at the beginning of the day, that's where we can see that if that balance isn't there, that it can really set them up to have some of those hangry episodes or cravings that happen later on. So that would be like I wouldn't be afraid to have protein, fat, and carbohydrate at a meal. The carbohydrate portion is usually a little bit smaller, and I'm actually having people put more fat back into their meal, healthy fat, obviously, but because it balances the blood sugar, and that's what keeps our energy consistent. That helps with weight. And that also helps with the body's stress response, which I have to say, the last 6 months, like that's been the biggest topic with my clients is sleep and stress, and then getting to like starting with just balancing their intake to help that energy piece.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Anyone who was looking for a dietitian's input on the balance of your meal, there you have it. And I love that you mentioned putting healthy fats in because I think that there is a common misconception that fats can be bad for us. I mean, obviously there are bad types of fats or what have you, but I think that a lot of people avoid some foods that could actually be good for them without knowing that fact.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even just unconsciously like from what they've been told, right? And when I ask them why they're avoiding things, sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know. Or why they're taking a supplement, they're like, oh, because my neighbor told me it was good. Like, so it's quite interesting, those influences on our behavior, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I know, again, going back to things that I've watched with my husband, we've watched so many different documentaries about food, and there's so many different opinions out there about what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. I think we've watched probably 3 or 4 different things where like half of them say eggs are bad and the other half say eggs are good for you. So
Mhm.
it's definitely going to depend on what you're taking in through media, what you're taking in, like you said, from neighbors and your environment and whatnot.
Yeah, and now we can look at like the individual genetics, right? So when people look at that, then you can really tailor things to what's best for their body based on their DNA.
Yeah, for sure. Because we all respond differently to different foods.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the fact that you're in Canada and also the fact that we're in a pandemic still, so it's made direct contact very different. Do you work primarily like face to face with clients, or are you working online and then therefore maybe more than just local?
So yeah, I'm working online. So I do have like some clients in the UK right now. So I'm definitely like working with people wherever they are. Um, and yeah, face to face right now because we're back in lockdown and because the clinics, I work with the naturopaths clinic as well, because they want to have the space in the clinic for their clients to come in. Nutrition's an easy one to kind of stay like offline. And with my kids, our schools are closed again right now. So having kids homeschooling just makes it easier for me to hop on and chat. My clients hear some funny things throughout the day, I'm sure, but people are really accommodating now. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have experienced that as well, where now that so many people have been forced to work from home, that it has made a lot of people a lot more relaxed about the things they hear in the background because they kind of assume that, hey, you're probably working from home too.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Understand what that situation is like. So now I kind of want to talk to you about how you're balancing all the different things that you have going on in your life as your business. It's already talks about mothers and having busy schedules because we really do have a lot going on. And then there's the select few of us who also decide to operate businesses, which is like a whole nother world in itself. So being that you have your business, you are working on a crazy cool calendar for meals as you co-parent. You got your kids, and of course you have Cathy. What is something that you're doing right now to help yourself to balance all of those things and not go absolutely insane?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yeah, over the last couple of years, I've learned to really like guard my sleep time and make sure that I'm getting enough sleep. Because if I don't, my symptoms are going to be worse the next day. So when my kids are with me, I tend to go to sleep like after they're in their bed. I tend to wrap up my day and go to bed and keep myself healthy that way. So when they're not with me, that's focusing on getting outside and moving more. Unfortunately, because of the one's COVID symptoms, we can't do as much outdoor activity without her having to be like in on a bike that she doesn't have to pedal, or like she can't walk long distances. So I'm trying to get lots of activity in. This winter was great. We weren't allowed to leave our province, but I was able to get lots of cross country skiing in locally. And it's those things that like, okay, yeah. And sometimes it's hard to get out. I'm doing a podcast about like my journey back to health after all these different stressors. And yeah, I'll share with my listeners like I had to have a big conversation with myself and convince myself I still had time. Because if you got all these things that you want to get done, it's easy to like get off schedule a little bit and then feel like you don't have time. But I find really having boundaries around the activities, packing kids' lunches when we're at home has helped a lot too, because then I'm packing my lunch, even though I'm working from home. So it takes the guesswork out of like being in a crazy day trying to fit everything in, having kids ask for food. They just know they go to their lunchbox, and I know that my lunch is in the fridge, and it just makes those little things make it easier to kind of navigate when the day gets away from you, right?
Yeah, I like that last little hack of packing their lunches, even though you're still home, because that does, I mean, getting up for 3 meals a day and snacks is actually very time consuming. And it's something that you may not really think about if you're not doing something like that, or if you don't have kids, but doing 3 meals and then cleaning after every meal, that's a lot. And that's where meal preps, like what you're doing here, can be really helpful. So that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
they just know they go to their lunch bag, and I even put like the ice packs and they keep it on the table or wherever they're working, and that's their lunch kit. And if somebody doesn't finish, then somebody else can take their lunch and finish it. And yeah, it works out well.
Nice, nice. So good hack for anyone with kids home. Who's also doing other things, whether it be school or business or working from home. That's actually a really good hack. So I know that you mentioned like that you take different little trips yourself. And one of the things that I always talk to my clients about is just making sure that you have made some time for yourself throughout the day so that you can show up and be your best self for your children, your friends, spouse, family, whoever it is that you're dealing with. So Cathy, what's one of your favorite things to do for yourself, just to treat you?
Yeah, so just to treat me, because I can't, like, normally I would be like traveling and spending time with friends, but we're not even supposed to be with anyone outside of our house right now. So I've really like developed a love for baths and just kind of like relaxing in the bath and reading a book. If it's when the kids are here, um, they have a good understanding that like sometimes I need like 10 minutes in the dark by myself, and it just helps my head reset. So it's just holding those boundaries. But yeah, creatively, like I like painting and stuff. So I've started taking classes or joining like little communities where I can log in and have access to some of those do it yourself kind of things. And
Yeah.
sometimes they'll have, my friend did a lettering, like within her camp community, she did a lettering thing last week. So I thought, okay, I'll log in just to like see other people that I know, because we all used to go to an art retreat together every year. So those ladies are some of the ones that like show up when you need help, even though like I've spent less time with them. They're really community focused. So it's fun to log in, and they do scavenger hunts, and it's just fun, different things to keep us connected. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Just
Mhm.
those online scavenger hunts and painting and all of that. So you're really into doing some art and getting some relaxation for yourself. And I'm happy to hear that you are taking time for yourself because it is very, very important to do. But now I'm going to start asking you, I have two fun questions, at least that's what I call them. Uh, I have yet to take a poll to see how fun you guys think they are. The first one is, if you were to have a book written about your life, Cathy, what would you title it and why would that be the title of your book?
Okay, so that's a great question. I've actually been like toying with the idea of a book because it keeps coming to me, um, like resiliency through nutrition or something. Because if you heard all of the things that just continue to happen in my space over the last couple of years, even though I think it's all leading to like the best life possible, it's like just ongoing stress and craziness. So I think it would be a good way for me to share with people how I've navigated all those challenges and stressors, um, despite like, yeah, having them happen, right? So, and how I've used my nutrition background to help with healing my concussion and some of the other stressors that have happened. And yeah, people just keep saying to me, like, oh my gosh, like, what else is going to happen? So I just keep going, and that resiliency is there. So, yeah, I keep trying either like nutrition through through resiliency or resiliency through nutrition, something like that.
Okay, so we know that it's going to have to do with nutrition and resiliency. We just not sure which way it's gonna fly. Okay. One of my favorite movies growing up, and honestly still to this day, because I like the remake as well, was Aladdin. So my next question is inspired by Aladdin. You're cross-country skiing and you come across a lamp, pick it up and you rub it, and I pop out and I'm your genie. I'm granting you 3 wishes. And in those 3 wishes, there's no rules except that you cannot wish for more wishes.
Okay. So what would I wish for? Oh. Probably one wish would be like some kind of easy time travel so I can travel quickly to see my family, because we're all kind of in different parts of Canada, and that would just make it easier. So time travel, and kids would think that's cool because we're reading the Magic Treehouse book series right now, and the kids in the book travel somewhere every like book that they read to some other land. So so time travel would be one.
Time travel, like teleportation style travel.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, teleportation. Yeah, so I can go back and forth quick. Another one would be a house on the water. That's kind of something I'm trying to manifest, and it doesn't have to be a big house. I had to move a couple times in the last year as well. I don't need a big house. I just would like to have a small house near the water because that's relaxing and calming. And then the third would be, yeah, just have the capacity to help more women through my emotional eating program and have that like operating where it's just kind of flows in its ease. Where at this point, I'm just trying to sometimes sneak it in, but yeah, if it could just be flowy, that's my goal.
Okay, so we want a flowy business, house on the water, and teleportation style travel to go wherever you want, wherever you want. I like it. So you could teleport back and forth from your house on the water.
Exactly. So I might not need to move my house. Yeah, that's a good point.
So last question I'm going to ask you in regards to business and personal life and everything. Since you've gotten back into your personal practice, what do you feel like has been your biggest struggle as a mompreneur specifically, and how have you overcome that specific struggle?
Yeah, so I guess it's just still like making sure that my boundaries are held, because I want to help lots of people. I want to kind of sneak work in everywhere that I can, and that's what I did for a number of years when after I had my third and I went back to my 9 to 5. In between the patients at the clinic, I'd be like trying to like do videos and stuff, and I look back and I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the energy that I was bringing was like not great, because I was obviously trying to do too many things. So I think it's still for me, like, because I like my work so much, it's still struggling to keep the boundaries sometimes and make it yeah, like when I'm with my kids, I'm fully with my kids and I'm not having to go into do business stuff as much. And then the days when I don't have the kids, there's always 2 days in the week where I don't, that I can do some of those extra business tasks, but those are also my heavy 9 to 5 days. So it's just trying to find that balance, but definitely boundaries. And when I had my private practice like 20 years ago, that's what kind of pushed me into a 9 to 5 for a while, right? Because I didn't have those boundaries in place. So I know it's a habit that I have been working on for a long time. So yeah, I'm much better at boundaries now.
It takes consistency and practice for sure to get. And then one thing that we've talked about even in the series a few times is how boundaries end up kind of changing, and we have to be flexible with that, especially you have young children. So as their stages of life change, your life of course changes, and then those boundaries have to a lot of times be adjusted. So it's one of those things that's consistently a progress.
Yeah, for sure.
So Cathy, I'm not going to take up any more of your time today because we will be live again on Monday on Instagram. So I want you to just go ahead and tell everyone here how they can connect with you, and if they're looking for a dietitian, how they can get in contact with you and get that process started.
Yeah, no problem. So CathyRichardsRD.com is my website. So you can go on there and it talks about the groups. And I also offer some individual support as well. And I'm on Instagram at Healthy Mompreneurs Get Wealthy, and Facebook at that same tagline, Healthy Mompreneurs Get Wealthy. So I spend more of my time on Instagram. I find it's kind of fun, and I'm having fun with the reels over there. So yeah.
Gotta check out some of your reels for sure.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cathy, for taking out your time today to chat with me. I'm looking forward to chatting it up with you again in a few days on Monday live. Well, it's the same day for everyone watching this because this is live on Monday, but I'm looking forward to that. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Talk soon.
Okay.